Good evening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of What Will You Eat in Chinada? Chinada is what I'm calling the future state of Canada once we have been fully socialized in terms of going the communist route. And that is where I think we're headed. So now I am just preparing you for what is about to come. So, hence, what will we all be eating when everything collapses and there's regulations galore and there's food shortages and all that? So, we're going to get into that today. And we're going to use examples from what happened in previous tested communist countries to see what happened when they had to deal with communism taking over their country. What did they do? So, it's going to be a little bit depressing. So it's good because one of the comments I got on my last stream was like, Julie, if you didn't laugh so much during your video, like if you could spend less time laughing, maybe you could get there faster and have your videos done in half the time. So this is the problem with live streaming, is that I don't have the edit function where if I do a normal video, I can literally go in and edit out any stupid parts, any dorky parts, anything I say that is like a little bit ooh. But in real life, in real live streams, I can't do it. So, and the nervous laughter is just part of this live stream. I have no other way to go about this. This is why I'm not on TV. This is proof that there's no organization behind me. I'm not funded by some secret party something. Okay, I get accused of that a lot. Oh, like who is she working for? They call it like oh, I can't remember the name, but I keep getting that. I used to get that a lot in my comments about how I was like funded by some like shadow government or whatever. I was a puppet for them and not to be fooled by it. Literally, it's just me. And it's just me and my stupid nervous laughter. And I have no other way to be broadcasting this message. So if you choose to go forward, be warned, there will be stupid, dorky, nervous laughter throughout literally all of the streams I'm going to do. So anyways, Joad, thank you. Always here, Joad. Welcome. Peter, I'm so glad you're in. Is this your first time, Peter, that you are in the live stream chat? I don't know. I've seen you on other streams, but anyways, welcome, Peter. Glad to have you. And yeah, a lot of people, you're all joining at once. This is amazing. Yeah, the laughter is great. It's uncontrollable. I can't help myself. Okay. So yes, many things we are going to be eating here in Canada. I was thinking about that for the last few months. I'm thinking, what are we going to eat? Then they started pushing that whole bug thing on us. Like, oh, we can eat bugs. So when I was gardening last week, I was thinking, okay, well, I dug up a few worms. I'm like, those must be edible. Like, can you eat worms? It would be super tasty. It would kind of be like a chewy, gross explosion in your mouth if you were to like bite down on one. I don't know what we'd eat, but we could eat that. And then I was looking at the squirrels going across the power lines, and I'm thinking, well, we could be kind of Venezuela style. They had to eat their rats and their zoo animals. Maybe we could do that too. So we would probably eat squirrel. But yeah. So anyways, a lot of crazy things that are going to be happening here. But before we dive into the potential foods of the new communist Canada, Chinada, let's look at a couple of the different countries who decided to embrace communism and how they had to deal with it. So you guys know that I have studied the USSR quite a bit, and the USSR, they did some really crazy thing. We are very aware of all of they call them red lines, but really what it was lines for everything. So there were lineups. You would spend a lot of your time, a lot of your day going and waiting in a line of a supermarket, and maybe you'd get something if you get there, but maybe not. So it was kind of like maybe. So anyways, yeah, very, very crazy for them. But the Ukraine got hit hard. I don't know if there's any people from Ukraine in the chat, I have a lot of Eastern European people that follow my channel, so I know, I'm hoping somebody's in there that can vouch for this, but maybe your grandparents have told you stories. But this is just absolutely crazy. So you guys know about the Holodomor. I'm not sure how to pronounce that in English. I'm probably going to butcher it. Holodomor. I don't know. Holodomor. I never know how to pronounce anything. This is insane. But they decided that they were going to collectivize the farms back then. And what that meant is they were going to take away your private farm that you've owned and put a bunch of the neighboring farms together, and then put a bunch of people that didn't really know how to run a farm in charge of running a farm. So they had production quotas, so that meant they had to produce grain for the USSR. So that means they took the grain from the from the Ukraine and would distribute it throughout the USSR. And once they had they would try to meet the quotas, but when you have non-farmers in charge of farming, you don't get good yields. They don't know what they're doing. So they tried to do that, and it caused the massive famine. It's called the Red Famine of 1933 to 34, where I think 6 million Ukrainians, how many? I'm going to look that up. I can't remember how many Ukrainians died. I don't want to give misinformation in here. We know what YouTube does with that. So I'm just going to look that up here. How many people died Ukraine Holodomor. I think it was 3.9 million Ukrainians died. So and it's 1932 to 1933. Sorry, I said 33 to 34. I was 1 year off there, but this is what happened to them. So 3.9 million Ukrainians died as part of this experiment that they did, trying to collectivize the farms, get quotas of grains out to redistribute to the USSR. And they did all sorts of really shitty things too. Not the Ukrainians, but the USSR to the Ukrainians. They hid the fact that there was a famine. So even if the US, for example, wanted to send something there, they couldn't. The US and I think a few other European countries were actually importing the Ukrainian grain during that same time. So they were not, if they would have known that this was causing a starvation, they probably would not have imported the grain and put some sanctions on the USSR, but they didn't know this was all hidden. So whenever foreign operatives or foreign people would come to the USSR, all of this was hidden from them. Even when people would visit, they were carefully guarded and taken to specific places so that all of this was hidden from them. So journalists were not shown this kind of thing. So they really didn't have a chance to help out the Ukrainians, anybody outside the USSR. And essentially, yeah, there's probably more than that 3.9 million that we just saw that died, because I bet you there's a bunch of people who are completely they just died and they didn't know. So there's probably more than that. I'm guessing that 3.9 million is a conservative guesstimate of how many people actually died. So I had read, there's a really good book on that called The Red Famine. It's, that my love for Anne Applebaum. I have a hair in my mouth. Yeah. It's what happens when you have lip gloss, it sticks. So the Anne Applebaum is a really good author, and she has spent a lot of years going through the Soviet archives. So when the USSR fell and they opened up all of the archives, we've still been uncovering things even recently. So it takes us a long time to get through all of it. But she spent a good chunk of her time digging into those archives, and she produced these amazing books where she goes into that. So anyways, if you want to read up on that, it's called The Red Famine. I also did a review of her book because I read her book, and I did that 2 years ago. I posted it on my channel. I don't know how you guys would find it. I have too many videos now. It's kind of annoying to have to go back and look. But anyways, or just Google her and you'll find an excerpt of her book. Or anyways, very, very interesting. But she talks about the disgusting things that the Ukrainians had to do. So for example, and this is what scares me about having to go into a communist state in Canada is knowing what happens. It's really scary. So anyways, the grain requisition had the quotas, and if you as a farmer were caught stealing grain, you would be shot. There's reports of kids going to some, like the land that was already plowed, so they've already taken off all of the grains from it, the wheat, and they would look on the ground for like these tiny kernels of wheat, and they would go in a handful and try to bring that back to their family. And if you get caught with that, you would be shot. Kids were shot, so it didn't matter. So you had to fill in the grain requisition. All grains had to go to the USSR, nothing left for the Ukrainians. And there are stories of parents having to decide, okay, which one of my kids is the weakest, because I'm going to have to let that one die first, and then hopefully have enough food for the rest of the kids that I have. Horrible things that the parents had to do. And there are some even crazier stories. This gets into the very dark side of humanity, but there are stories of cannibalism during that time, as well as cannibalism of eating your own children. So there are stories of parents. Apparently, starvation makes you go insane. I had a bit of a sad childhood, so I was starved, but I wasn't starved to the point of going crazy. But I hear from this book that if you actually go a few days without food, your brain starts to play tricks on you, and you become kind of this crazy animal basic instinct kind of attitude. And at that point, you see everything as, you remember The Simpsons? There's a Simpsons episode where like Homer's dreaming about like this food, and everything in front of him becomes food. I think it has to be like that based on the descriptions that I read of starvation. I think it's kind of like that. So anyways, completely nasty stuff. And we don't want to go there in Canada, and I hope we don't. But look, if it can happen to the Ukrainians, it can happen to us here too. We're not immune from any of that stuff. So it's just disgusting. So that's the Ukraine. So shout out to the Ukrainians right now. I hope you guys are doing well. I know you guys are not going to let communism come back into your country anytime soon. You may see refugees from Canada into the Ukraine. So see, we took the Ukrainians for a while, and now maybe the Ukrainians will take us when we try to flee our communist country. Okay, now, just because you're going to say, okay, like you're always talking about the USSR, but what about these other countries that all had this starvation and famine because of communism? It's not just about the USSR, and it's true. So let's look at Cambodia for a quick second. Cambodia, they decided to go communist in the 70s. So it started in the 60s, but by the 70s, 75, they had actually implemented it. The Khmer Rouge was there, and they were like, booyakasha, communist country now. So what happened in that? Similar famine started to happen there. And they basically stole all private property from everybody. The Khmer Rouge did a little bit reverse of what Stalin had done in the USSR. So Stalin took the people from the peasantry, basically from the farmland, and he tried to bring as many of those guys into the cities as possible, and he left a few communal farms out there, and the people had to farm and send food to the cities. So that was how Stalin did it. But Pol Pot, who was the leader of Cambodia, he did the reverse. He took people out of cities and redistributed towards the land, because his philosophy was like, yo, we're gonna go like everybody's a peasant. We're all equally peasants. So he tried to dismantle the cities that way. I can't remember the capital of Cambodia. Hang on, guys. I have to remember this. It's going to drive me insane. Does anybody know capital of Cambodia? I can find it real fast here. Cambodia. Phnom Penh. Phnom Penh. I don't even know. Okay, there's second one goes capital of Cambodia pronunciation. That's for the people like me who literally butcher everything they say. So Phnom Penh. Okay, it looks like that's the right way to pronounce it. So anyways, Phnom Penh. So they took people out of that capital and put them in farmland, and then people had to then start growing stuff. So the same famine kind of happened in Cambodia, because now you have people who are used to be in a city, have no idea how to farm. All of a sudden, boom, go in and farm. Good luck to you. And when they couldn't produce the crops and they didn't know what they were doing, the famine started. And the Khmer Rouge, one of the most ruthless bunch of thugs that the world's ever known. Like you had Hitler and his SS and his secret police, and then you had Stalin and his secret police, and then you had the Khmer Rouge with all of their freaking awful stuff that they did. Like, they're all like the same kind of level of evil that we hope to never see again in this world, but unfortunately we will see again. So the Khmer Rouge would even go after it. So there were fruit trees in the farmlands of Cambodia, and if you were caught eating from a fruit tree because you're starving, you would be killed on the spot, but potentially your whole family as well. And the reason was that if you eat the fruit, you're eating something that not everybody has. Therefore, that puts you in the bourgeoisie class, and you're considered to be anti-communist if you behave that way. It's anti-communist behavior. So that's how they did it. And the reason they killed the whole family is because the philosophy of the Khmer Rouge was, if you actually leave the family alive, they might come back and attack the party later on in their life. So if you catch a father eating a fruit off of a tree, but you don't kill his two kids, so the toddler and the daughter who's 5 years old, you must kill them, because if you don't, they're going to grow up and become anti the government because you killed their dad, so you may as well kill them now. So that's what they would do. Khmer Rouge would go in, they would kill everybody, the whole family. If you were, for any reason that they deemed needed, they would kill the entire family. And there were the killing fields. I saw somebody put that in a comment. Yes, absolutely, the killing fields. Camo put this here. Dude was educated in France. That is 100% true. A lot of the communist elites got educated in France. And in fact, Cambodia was a part, like French imperialism was in parts of Vietnam and Cambodia in like the 1700s, early 1800s. Eventually, their king kicked the French out. Then the other king brought them back in. Anyways, it's kind of messy. And then the communists take over after that. And that was in 1975. But their leader was literally educated in France in the communist, in a university, not a communist university, but he learned about the communist ideology. And all of the elite within Cambodia used to send all of their kids to France to go to school. So that's where they all learned these ideas. They took them back. They liked the idea of looking towards a global communist ideology. So that's true. This dude went to France. That's where he got his actual education from. So yeah, I'm just catching up on the comments. There's so many of you people joined since I've been rambling. So welcome to everybody who's joined recently. Yes, Pol Pot funeral. I haven't seen it. He died in like 99, 97, something like that. He died like not too long ago. I haven't seen anything about his funeral though. Now I'm curious. Okay. Yeah, King Jong-un, this guy, educated in Switzerland. I didn't know that, but that would not surprise me the least bit. Is that the first one? I think that's the first one. King Jong-il. Oh my gosh, there's three of them. I always get them mixed up. I have to Google them. North Korea dictator. Oh, okay, let's check it out. Those guys not faring any better with their communism over there. Okay, okay, hold on, guys. Hold on, I have it here. I want to see all of that's the dude right now. King Jong-un is the guy right now. Let me see who his dad was. Kim Il-sung, that's the one. And then who's the other one? Oh, I can't remember. Anyways, I won't waste waste your time looking at who's the other one. But yeah, there's three of them. He's the third of the generation in North Korea, in the North Korea dictatorship. And yeah, they also have famine in North Korea, so it's not like it's going super well for them either. So yeah, I'm telling you guys, we do not want to go into communist Canada, but looks like that's what we're going. So what what numbers should I pick for the the Lotto Max 6 point? I am not getting involved in that, dude. If I give you the wrong numbers, you're gonna hate me, and the chances of me giving you the right number is literally like, I have better chance of getting hit by lightning if I go outside right now, and it's sunny right now. So no, I'm not giving you. Deal with it on your own. Faye Knox, hello Faye Knox at Point Fire. Oh my gosh, so many awesome people are joining. So glad to have you all. And if you guys want to give some lottery numbers to Stuart there, go ahead, help a bro out, man. But I'm not going to be doing it. So anyways, okay. So what else do I have, guys? Yes, let's talk about I know more about the USSR grocery stores and things like that. So I'm going to cover that a little bit more. I don't think the places like Vietnam, Cambodia had massive grocery stores. I think it was more local farmers and farmer stands and things like that before communism took over. But so I'm going to focus on the USSR for that. But check out what we can expect. So assume Canada is going to be just like, USSR. It's cold country, similar kind of people. So I'm gonna guess the USSR model, but I'm gonna blend it in with the China model because I think China is gonna be our overlord. To be honest, Chinada is gonna be the North American province of China. that's how they're gonna do it. So, anyways, okay. The grocery store. So we already looked at the bread lines. So there's going to be that. There's going to be the bread lines, and there's going to be the everything else line. So if anything breaks, you have to go and wait in a lineup somewhere to get it fixed. And if you can, right, if you can afford it. So there's going to be that. Now, another thing about the grocery stores is you have to be privileged to work there. So if you're like in the privilege, if you're in good standing with the Communist Party, you'll get that kind of a job. You'll be able to work in a grocery store. And it's kind of a sweet deal when you work in a grocery store for you, because what happens is you get to close when you want, pretty much. You can decide, how they did it in the USSR is they were like, okay, we need to clean the store. So they would close the store for 2 hours during the day and then just sit and do nothing or just chill. And then they would open back up after 2 hours. So if you happen to go during that time, you'd have to wait for them to reopen. Like, it was completely unpredictable, because when you don't get paid very well to run something, which is what's happening in any communist country, there's literally no incentive to do a good job at all. So people will tend to do the minimum possible, the absolute minimum possible. Even the real go-getters, like, in capitalist society, you have the real go-getters. I'm one of those. I work super, super hard at my job, and I want to do well, and I want to make more money, and I want to progress in my career. So I work really hard. I'm a go-getter, and I've always been like that. But if we get Chinada, the northern province of China in North America, the motivation will cease, because there will literally be no reward at all. I'll be in a job that I'm going to be told to be in, and I won't have anything else but the salary that is dictated to me. So there's going to be no motivation for me to work harder or do anything else than the bare minimum. And this is the mentality of everybody in the USSR. So that's why when you go to a grocery store in the middle of the day and it's closed because they are cleaning, that's just the way it is in communist countries. So no incentive to work. You would bring your little coupon book, because of course now the food is no longer under capitalist arrangements. So this is what to expect in Chinada. You will have some kind of a coupon book, because the government will say, okay, we're going to give you for free this quantity of milk every week and this quantity of flour, maybe this bread and these 3 fruits. So you'll have some kind of a booklet. For us, it'll be like an app on our phones. You'll be like, okay, so you'll show up at your grocery store and you'll have your app here with your quantities dictated by the government. We're probably going to go in. It's going to be some robot. You're going to scan it. Some line is going to probably bring you the ration food that you're going to get based on your quotas, your allowance, and you're going to pick it up and go. So that's my guess. This is my guess of how we're going to adapt in the technological world, because of course it's going to have the green flair, right? So it's going to be, oh, but it has to be eco-efficient. There's some bullshit like that they're going to start throwing our way. It has to be eco-efficient. So we're going to have all of this crazy eco-efficient food distribution. It's no longer just going to be some dude in the grocery store, but there is going to be somebody at the back having to put stuff online, so whatever, however that's going to work. But yeah, that is our new way of life in Chinada with our little phone, our little, your phone won't be an Apple phone anymore, by the way, or it will be a refurbished Apple phone that will have only government approved apps on it. So of course you're going to have your food distribution app and you're going to be tracked and you're going to have probably all your information on that. So it's going to be kind of a different way of living we have to adapt to. So you're going to have that. So you're going to get your food at the grocery store, your rations, and you're going to try to get other stuff, and it'll kind of depend what's available. So you may not be able to. So one of the things, and this is something I saw in a subreddit post like years ago, but I had to Google it today to try to find what it was, what the name was. But I'm going to show you guys. It's called an avoska. Anybody in the chat that speaks Russian? Are any Russians in here? I'm going to show you what an avoska is. And I'm probably, again, butchering that. But it's called the maybe bag. I'm going to find a picture of that for you guys. Hold on. I have to find it. It's a really interesting bag. And anybody who is Russian will have heard stories about the avoska bag. Hold on. I can see. I need a picture. Just once. Oh, here's a good picture. See if I can. Yeah. Okay. Check this out, guys. Here we have an avoska. There we go. See? So it's like this mesh bag that everybody would have in the USSR, and they would actually carry it everywhere they went. It was a mandatory thing. You have to carry your avoska everywhere you go, because you never know what you're going to run into. So if you're walking down the street and you see a lineup in a store, you don't know what's there, but there's a lineup, so something must have just come in, and you're going to get in the lineup, and you have to have your avoska so that you can potentially buy what's there. And they literally called it the maybe bag, because it would be like, well, maybe I can get that when I walk by. Maybe I can get something. So it was kind of a staple in, everybody had that in the USSR, just in case you could get it. So the USSR, they would sometimes eat their breakfast and their dinner at home in the communal kitchens that they would do. And this is where they would use like the ration food that they would get. But the other times that they would eat, because the government really controlled everything, but they would eat at their workplace in the cafeteria, and the children would eat in the school in the cafeteria. So what they did is a woman's place in USSR is not in the kitchen. See, the feminists, they're going to love this stuff. And this is why we're going into communism ourselves, because we think this is good. But what the USSR said is, we don't have time for women to cook. The women need to be in factories producing stuff and working for the state. No time for the cooking. So they essentially didn't give a choice to women. It was, you're not cooking anymore. You're going to work in the factory. So in the factories, they built these canteens, kind of cafeterias, if you want, where people would eat the state-produced food. And that is another sweet, sweet job you want to have. So if you ever go into Chinada, look for these kinds of jobs. Look to be some kind of a taxi, Uber, Lyft driver if you can. Try to work as a food prepper in a canteen, cafeteria, factory, lunchroom, whatever you can do, or try to work in a restaurant, because you're going to be able to secure a little bit more food that way. And what they would do in the canteens, the cafeterias, they had to produce food. Now, of course, everything has to be state approved, so it has to be specific kind of USSR food that they've said the workers will get. So it's cheap food, bad food, like it doesn't taste very good, but they try to do like high nutritional, so that the Soviet worker could be strong and work for the rest of the day. And to do things like that, they would take in a salad, they would take less vegetables but put more mayonnaise. So imagine that, having a salad for lunch, but there was like way too much mayonnaise in it, because the Soviets used to say, well, the mayonnaise will give you the substance you need. So eat up, comrade. And you probably have some bread and whatever would be available to do, but pretty cheap. And what the canteen workers would do before you show up for your state mandated lunch, you would actually not know this, but the canteen people would be in the back first, and they would say, okay, take this jug of milk here, a little bit for me. Like they would put it in a separate container that they would bring home, and then they would add water to dilute the milk that they would serve you. So this is what I mean when I say, if you work in the canteen, it's kind of a sweet job, because at least you can secure food. And that is going to be the main obsession of Chinada, is going to be securing food for ourselves everywhere. So that's basically one of the ways that the USSR, the privileged people, were able to get food. So they would skim off a little bit of this, a little bit of that on everything, and replace it with something. China got caught a few years ago, and these are our future overlords, so check this out. This is going to be disgusting, but they were putting cardboard inside of their street food in Beijing. So can you imagine that? You take a bite of your dumpling and it's a cardboard inside, because they just didn't care. They were just like trying to fill up the dumpling, and it wasn't like a mistake or anything. There was actually a whole story about that. It was a few years ago. You guys can actually Google that, but Google the cardboard in China's street food. It's going to make you think twice about wanting to have things from China in your mouth. Like, I don't want to eat from China. Anyways, hey, old white guy. You are going to, old white guy, he's going to be hunting. That's what he's going to eat. He's going to eat deer and moose. Right, old white guy? We're talking about what you're going to eat in Chinada. So, depending on what it is. So, Chinada, I was talking in last week's episode about how we may be pushed towards the cities in order to open up as many green spaces as we potentially can that will be deemed crown land. And then it won't be crown land anymore. It'll be, I don't know, like China land. I don't know what they're going to call it. Some kind of you can't go on that property because it belongs to China. So they're going to open those green spaces and force us, this is my prediction, and kind of force most of us out of there. And that means it'll be really tough for people to go hunt on there. You'll have to go illegally. People will have to learn how to use a bow and an arrow, because even a crossbow is too loud. So you're going to have to learn how to do an actual bow and arrow to be able to go into a forest illegally at death penalty if you're caught, and go and try and sneak in and get yourself a deer, or get yourself a couple squirrels that day or something. So turkey, right? It's turkey season right now in Ontario. So you can go hunt a turkey, just not the hens, just the turkey. So my husband's a hunter, so that's how I know this stuff. But anyways, so yeah, a spear. So you're going to have to do that. But that's pretty much what we're going to have to contend with. So we are going to have this kind of reality to deal with. It's going to be tough because we're not used to that. It's going to be a huge shock for all of us to learn that everything is rationed, that you have to illegally or you have to go and illegally hunt, fish, and you have to have connections. This is where connections become really important. There's a bunch of people in the USSR that reported that you would never buy potatoes in the grocery stores over there because there would be farmers that you would know via connections, and they would help you get potatoes if you went to their farm and helped them do some cleanup or something, right? So this is towards the end of the USSR. So you would have this kind of thing available to you if you had connections, because trying to get potatoes in the store, it would just not be available in grocery stores. And I think if anybody's from Russia, you can probably corroborate my stories. This is like 10 years of me looking into this stuff, and all of this stuff is coming from different books and different places. So I don't remember necessarily where I got it. 10 years ago or 7 years ago, I read a book, and I cannot remember for the life of me what the book name was, but it was about a woman who, she was married to a diplomat who actually he was stationed in Cuba for a few years. So she got firsthand experience of socialism in Cuba. Now, Cuba had, like most socialist countries, they have the hospitals, the food stores, the hotels, the restaurants, and the education for the elites. And then they have the famine and the crappy stuff for the rest of the people. So she noticed that. She saw that all the foreigners would have like the grocery store that the foreigners would go to. Of course, everything is overpriced in there, so locals can't afford to go in and buy anything, and they're on ration books anyways. But that is how they did it. And she talks about the black market for chickens in Cuba. So chickens and eggs. So if you want to buy something, you would travel far away, deep into the boonies of Cuba, find a chicken farmer, and illegally buy from him. If you get caught, of course, you get imprisoned. Cuba, not so good to their people. So that is basically what happened to the black market of food. So expect a black market of food here, but it won't be chickens, it'll be squirrels. And you have to be friends with old white guy here, because he's gonna score you some really good moose and deer hunting up there where he is. So be friends with him, okay? Maple, I see you're in the chat. Hello. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. So we're going to have black markets. We won't have restaurants anymore. There'll be restaurants in Toronto and Montreal, big cities, and they'll be for like the dignitaries, for foreign ministries. When ministers from other countries, presidents, queens, whatever, they come here, they're going to be hosted in these hotels and restaurants that are going to be for the elite only in downtown Toronto. And the rest of us, we won't have too many restaurant options. Of course, if we end up the full-blown communist way in Canada, you won't actually be able to open up a restaurant yourself. You're going to get state permission to open up your restaurant, and then you're going to be told what you can serve there. And you're going to be told what price you have to put everything at. So that'll be your restaurant, kind of. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a shock for all of us when we go that way with our food in our new Chinada. So yeah, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. That's right, JP. That's right. And Maple, yeah, of course, always going to give you a shout out, Maple. You're one of my favorites. Joe Mac, hello. Yeah, your shout out to the D-Live crew. I don't know if there's a lot of you guys on there, but thanks for joining, Joe Mac. I really appreciate that. And Political Foolishness, so many people here. I feel like I've missed a whole bunch of people here. So yeah, 1776 North, you bought land up north and started raising livestock and growing crops. That's it's a really good idea, and that will be helpful in the short run. I don't want to squash on your dreams, but I've seen too many socialist countries completely go after the people who try to be independent of the state. You are just simply not allowed. So Cambodia, we talked about that a bit earlier today. When they went to the cities and they took the people out of their homes, if you refused to leave your home, the Khmer Rouge burnt your house down, made you watch, and then would kill you and your family. So it's a very depressing way of life to be in. anywhere near communism. This is why I hate the ideology. I can't even talk. Ideology. I hate it so much because people think it's good, and then they actually realize when they're in the famine state that it went wrong. People of Cambodia were actually happy when the socialist government took over initially, but they soon realized, oh crap, terrible. Same for the people. So in Europe, all the Eastern European countries who became communist after the Second World War, at first they were like, yay, Red Army, you guys are here. But then they're like, oh shoot, the Red Army starts raping our people, and they're pillaging and they're taking stuff, and it's awful, like what the hell. And then they were bullied into communism. So I'm reading another book by Anne Applebaum. I'm going to look it up because I can't remember what it's called right now. Just give me one sec, guys. It's in my books here on here. It's called reading now. No, not that one. Oh yeah, it's called The Iron Curtain. So it's the Iron Curtain, and it's the crushing of Eastern Europe. And it's also Anne Applebaum. And she is talking about how, because I'm always fascinated with the Poland story. And so I love the Ukrainian story because it's a big warning to the rest of us. But Poland is also a big warning to the rest of us. So the Polish had the biggest uprising against communism. And so this is where you think, oh my gosh, there's going to be help. There's going to be hope. We're going to be okay. But I can't remember if it was 1945, the big Warsaw. I'm going to butcher that name too. Varsovie. See, if I could speak French, if I could live stream in French, I could be so much better at all of this. But I'm going to look this up. Uprising of Warsaw. Warsaw. There we go. So, okay, I just looked for the date here. 1944. So this is where they actually tried to push against the rise of the Red Army. So the Red Army had started coming in 1942 into different parts of Europe. They've reached Poland by now. So now you have the poor Polish people. They've been under Nazi regime for since 1939, right? Actually, yeah, 1939. Now they have the Red Army walking in, taking over, pillaging, raping, awful. And the Polish people tried to defend themselves against the Red Army as well, and ended up being crushed. And there was an alliance. This is what Anne Applebaum talks about. They actually end up having a whole bunch of alliances from USSR countries. There's some of the countries, and they crushed Poland. So the Poles were so demotivated that their morale was done. They were done. And that is partially why communism was able to take over in Poland. And so the Poland are just done. So now this is why you see the strongest countries in Europe now are places like this, like Poland and Austria, because they have gone through this stuff and they are done. So they see more totalitarian stuff coming in their countries. They're like, no, thank you. We've done this. So I don't know if there's anybody from Poland in the chat, but big shout out to you if you're from Poland. Big respect. I hope you guys never see the communism and Nazism again. You're gonna have to watch out for Islam now. That's a whole other stream, guys. But yeah, it's just absolutely insane. The Poles are done dealing with this shit, and they've said no more. Elizabeth, are you from Hungary? I don't know if that's if you're just talking to somebody else or. But anyways, okay, so yeah. Let me see what else I have in here for the food thing. So, okay, so yeah, the job in the cafeteria, that's perfect. Women work in factories, so you can't produce any more food for your hubby at home. Yeah, I think I've covered it. I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. But yeah, get ready to be completely. Magda, are you from Poland? She said thank you, and she must be Poland. Yeah, Polksit, yeah. Poland has to get rid of any, like, I want to move to Poland. Like, I wanted to move to Texas before, but now I'm thinking I want to move to Poland, but I'm not Polish, so they're they're probably not gonna like me because they're gonna say, well, you're not an original Pole. so I think they want to keep Poland Polish, which is the right thing to do. So they probably wouldn't accept me. But anyways, yes, Hungary, Elizabeth, you're right. It was absolutely a communist country under the Iron Curtain. And Anne Applebaum does mention that in her book. Magda, you're in Cracovie. I say I don't want to butcher it in English. At least in French, I can say it properly. Cracovie. She's in this one. I'm going to put that on the screen there. So we have someone from Poland in the chat. Magda, we are getting to communism in Canada. I'm trying to warn everybody and prepare for the food shortages that are coming. But yeah, big shout out to you, Magda. I hope you're doing well. Ontario should separate. Let me see here. Ontario should separate from Canada. Quebec can come too. The rest of you are crazy. I don't know. I think the rest of Canada thinks Ontario's good. I'm in Ontario and I think Ontario's crazy at this point. I'm like, I can't even deal with the shit that's happening here. See, I think I'm a little angry today because I swore 3 times in the stream today. So hopefully the children, if you're listening, do not repeat my words of swearing. But yeah, and see, I'm swearing, so I'm not laughing as much. So that guy that was pretty upset with my laugh, I hope he's in here tonight so he can actually be more thumbs up the video if you notice that I laughed less. And yeah, we'll see see, now I'm laughing nervous again. Damn it, Julie. Okay. Yeah, Ontario is a giant liberal shithole. That's from Maple. It's absolutely true. We have a reopening plan that is not really a reopening plan. It's kind of a mess in Ontario right now. And I think Ontario is going to be the first one. We're going to be the communist state here. That the first one. Oh, lawyers, dog, do not work for free. They will. They will under Canada's communists. Everybody will work for free. You'll see. USA, Trish, you're saying USA will have food shortages. Yes. Yeah, that's correct. If they have food shortages in the States, we are a little bit screwed. I've started a garden myself as well because I'm trying to learn how to do all of the food growing myself. In case I have an opportunity to flee somewhere or whatever, I'll have the knowledge that I can take with me of how to do this properly. My husband's a hunter, so he can help us with that. But anything that you can do right now to start preparing for the upcoming food shortages, I highly recommend that you do that. Because, and even if, assume I'm wrong, and we're not heading towards communism, it's called globalism in the New World, that's what they're calling it, but it's really the revamping, the rebranding of communism under a more palatable set of ideas that they think they'll fly and that they'll be able to sneak past us and we won't recognize it. But you'll see, like, I hope I'm wrong that globalists are not really taking over Canada. But I think we're already there. I think there is already China influence in here. We're already being taken over. I wouldn't be surprised to learn soon that a lot of our land in Canada is foreign owned by this point. I'm just waiting for that to be kind of uncovered. Ontario is like the last province, I think Manitoba and Alberta now, but the last province to open up anything at all. And we have essentially destroyed our economy in Ontario. So it's going to be, it's not possible to rebuild it because the government will come in with all sorts of subsidies. And at the minute the government involves itself into anything, it ruins it. So the government will use the fact that the businesses now, the small businesses in Ontario are fully ruined to actually go in and regulate the crap out of that, subsidize it, and then we'll never be able to recover. If the government were to say right now, all right, guys, we're going to back out because clearly what we're doing is not working. We're just going to back out a little bit and let you guys figure it out, which would be the right thing to do, by the way. Let us figure it out. then the natural economy would pick back up and the market rules would set in, and we would be able to figure out where the needs are, what we can produce, all of that kind of stuff. But the government won't do that. What they'll do is they'll step in and they'll say, okay, now all these small businesses are closed, all these people are out of work, so we need to subsidize their food and we need to subsidize their rent. And incoming is going to be that nice little socialist state that we are going to be experiencing very soon. So that is, last week we checked out, where you're going to live. When you're going to be in there, you're going to have these beautiful gray apartments with cardboard walls. And that's where you're going to live, communal kitchens and everything. But now you're going to have to eat the way the socialists do as well. And unfortunately, that is going to be our reality. It's going to hit us in the face in about a few months, I think. Faye, you're saying China bought up a lot of farmland in Canada. Faye, is that in Canada that they've done that? It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. Old white guy, a free market would fix it 100%. That's what we need. We need the government to just back out, deregulate, and let people just build back up, because people will build it back up. But so long as the government interferes, it won't work. This is what we've seen. The collectivization was the government trying to regulate food. So am I buffering? Oh, I might be. No, my internet connection is good for once. 10 out of 10 for my internet. So Camo, it might just be you buffering, I hope. Well, I hope not, but you know what I mean. Bill Gates has bought up farmland in America. Yep, totally. And that's not good. But yeah. So anyways, before I go tonight, guys, tell me in the chat here. We'll do interaction today because it's fun. This is why I like doing the live streams. I like the interaction. But tell me, what are you gonna eat when all of this goes away and the grocery store shelves are empty? What are you guys gonna go eat? Is it gonna be a squirrel, a bird hunting, crows, turkey vulture, turkeys? Are we gonna have to find like mushrooms in the forest? Like, what are we, like, pine? Can you eat pine cones? People in the Ukraine used to eat the bark off the trees as well to try to stay full when they were starving. So bugs, yes, bugs. Trish, you don't want to eat the bugs, but you have to. Look, you might not have a choice, my darling. But they're already trying to get us to eat bugs. I actually ate bugs in Montreal. So I grew up in Montreal, and there was a at the Insectarium every year they would do this thing where they would bring in bugs and you could go in and eat them. So you'd eat like scorpions, or I remember eating sushi with ants in them. That's a bit gross because the ant parts get all over your teeth. It's disgusting. But I did try a few of those things. I tried some of the little, I don't know, not larvae. I don't know what they were, but I tried a few of those, and I am happy that I do not have to live on bugs. But I find it's a new push now. They're trying to get us to live off of bugs at least a little bit. But yeah. So okay, rabbits. Yes, rabbits is a good one. Mushrooms right now. The problem is, what are we gonna do in catch them then breed them? Yeah, that's not a bad idea. The winters are gonna be rough as heck on us in Canada, especially in places like Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, like the cold places, Ontario, Northern Quebec. We are gonna get hit really hard by the winters. I don't know what we're going to do during winter time. I think that's when most of the deaths will happen. The first 2 or 3 years of socialism in Canada, we're going to see a large amount of death from starvation in the winter. But they're probably going to blame Donald Trump for that. No joke. Somehow it's going to be Trump, because that's what the communist countries always did. They always blamed the Americans. It was always foreign interference. The Chinese tried to blame, remember when I said they had cardboard in their street food? They tried to blame the Americans for that. They said it was America who did it. It's like, dude, it's your cart in the street food. There's cardboard. Like, honestly, you got to stop blaming everybody else. But yeah, it'll be pretty insane in a few years. And I think the first 2 or 3 years, the first year will be okay because we'll have enough reserves everywhere. People will be able to loot other people's homes that they know there's food in it. But then after that, there's going to be the mass starvation is going to hit. It always takes a year or two. It's mass starvation, a lot of death, and this whole COVID thing will be nothing compared to what's about to hit us. And people in other countries who have lived through communism are trying to warn us, but apparently we don't take them seriously enough. So, oh, Trish, you can't eat Bambi? You might have to. Just get one of your hunter friends to bring back meat, and he won't say what it is. Maybe we'll get the USSR mystery meat. You know, the big. They had these big sausages that they would just slice, and it was like weird colored. It was like definitely processed, but just, anyways, gross. Maybe I should do that, eh? Maybe I should do like a communist cooking show. That'll be my next adventure. Maybe maybe I could do that. Foods from the USSR. I bet you we're gonna have a surplus of maple syrup though, so I don't think we're gonna have a problem with that. That'll be our thing. Maple syrup. You know how the Russians have vodka and the Cubans always had their cigars and their sugar. We're gonna have the maple syrup. That's gonna be our thing in Canada, maple syrup. So, anyways, get ready for that. That's about to happen. We're only a few months away. Get prepared as much as you can. I do believe the food shortages are coming. I'm sad to report. I truly believe that that's happening very soon. So if you can, if you have the room, if you have a bit of extra cash, stock up on things like that. I'll do one of the upcoming episodes will be on medical. The future medical world. It's going to be free healthcare like we have now, but you just wait, it'll be even worse. So it'll be worse than what we have. So compared to what we're going to get right now, we're getting the best care in the world. So if you think now is good or just okay, it's about to take a downfall. So we're going to prepare for that. And I'm going to show you like some of the countries like Cuba, what an ambulance is. So anyways, we'll go through that next time. It'll be okay, I just have to put this one out. This one made me laugh from Trish. Oh, hold on. This one here. Hold on. This is a good one, Trish. I don't know if I can say this on YouTube without getting kicked off, so I won't risk it. But people, you can go and read that. But anyways, okay. Okay, so Camo, it's your first time here? Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thanks for joining today, Camel. I didn't realize it was your first time on the live stream. But yeah, okay. So yeah, call me easy to call me. Yeah, you'll have to try. But anyways, okay, guys, I will wrap it up for today. That is it. Good luck in Chinada finding food to eat. We're all going to be in the same boat. So good luck. Prepare for that. And next week, we'll do the hospital thing and healthcare in our new Canada. So hopefully you enjoyed. And I love you all. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great evening. Kisses to all. Bye, guys.